Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the next infection, that is a cytomegalovirus infection. And the source that you're going to read or revise this infection is from the CYP article. The CYP is there for cytomegalovirus infection. Okay, so cytomegalovirus, it is a member of the herpes family and it is the most common viral infection. However, malaria was the parasitic infection and it is affecting 0.2 to 2.2% of all the live birds. And cytomegalovirus causes a very major neurological abnormality, that is the sensory neural hearing loss. It is the leading non-genetic cause of non-sensory neural hearing loss and a major cause of neurological disability. Around 10 to 15% of the neonates with congenital cytomegalovirus will be symptomatic, with a similar percentage developing problems later in the childhood. So it is symptomatic. The incidence of cytomegalovirus is 0.2 to 2.2%.
Ma'am, what is the source of the study material?
The CYP article. I can share it in the main group after the class is over. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the incidence of cytomegalovirus infection is 0.2 to 2.2%, while it is symptomatic in neonates, 10 to 15%. How it is transmitted? It can transmit antenatally by the transplacental route at the time of the labor and also delivery through the secretions, cervicovaginal secretions, through the blood, and also after the postnatally through the breast milk. Okay, so this is the transmission route. And transmission is more likely following a maternal primary infection in a pregnancy than following a reactivation or recurrent infection with a different strain of the virus. And if it is the reason, if it is a primary infection symptomatic, it will be 10 to 15%. But if it is a recurrent infection in pregnancy, then the risk is 1 to 2%. And the risk increases with each trimester. In the first trimester, it is 30%. And in the third trimester, it increases to 47%. So we just need to remember that in every trimester, the infection increases. In the first trimester, it is lowest. In the third trimester, it becomes highest, that is 47%. The majority of the women who acquire cytomegalovirus infection for the first time, that is primary infection, they are asymptomatic. However, some women can have symptoms like fever, malaise, myalgia, lymphadenopathy, and some less commonly hepatitis and pneumonia, but few suffer from long-term sequelae. And as cytomegalovirus, herpes virus, they all belong to the same family. So these viruses, once they enter into our body, they will remain throughout the life into our body dormant. But if immunity is low or in pregnancy, the immunity gets low, so this virus gets activated and manifests itself then. So in terms of baby, for the mother, we have discussed the symptoms that can be fever, malaise, myalgia, lymphadenopathy, pneumonia, and hepatitis, which are less common. But for the baby, the features are, for congenital cytomegalovirus at birth, jaundice, petechial rash, hepatosplenomegaly. The circumference of the head will be small, that is microcephaly, and small for gestation age, the baby will be. So now, in terms of testing, for all the viruses that we, especially for the viral infections, we always check for IgM and for IgG, immunoglobulin G and immunoglobulin M. For all the viruses that we have been studying throughout our medical life also. So IgM tells us that this is a recent infection, and IgG tells us that it is the secondary infection. Okay, but cytomegalovirus is different in that case. How it is different? For cytomegalovirus, the testing that we do is immunoglobulin G avidity testing. So If the avidity testing is high, that is greater than 60%, it will show that the infection is in the past or secondary infection. But if it is a low avidity index, that is less than 30%, then it shows that's a recent infection. So for the diagnosis of primary cytomegalovirus infection in pregnancy, it can be made by one of the following findings: the appearance of cytomegalo-specific immunoglobulin G in a woman who was previously seronegative. Along with that, cytomegalovirus IgM antibody will be there, but with a low level of immunoglobulin G avidity. And for the mother, it is always the diagnostic test for the mother to diagnose cytomegalovirus infection. It is immunoglobulin G avidity testing. It can be done before pregnancy or during pregnancy. So if it is any other type of infection, if it is less, if it is immunoglobulin M, then it shows recent infection. If it is immunoglobulin G, it shows past infection. But in terms of cytomegalovirus, the testing that we are using is immunoglobulin G avidity testing. If it is less than 30%, it shows that it's a recent infection within 3 months. If it is more than 60%, then it shows that it's a past infection more than 3 months have passed. Hope I have cleared this point to all of you. But for the baby, for the mother, it was immunoglobulin G avidity index. For the baby, it is by the identification of the virus or the viral genome in the amniotic fluid following amniocentesis, which can be done in the form of PCR. That is generally real-time PCR is used. So amniocentesis will be done if let's suppose if a patient has got the infection at 15 weeks of pregnancy. So for the baby, amniocentesis will be done after 20 weeks of gestation, because it takes some time for the infection to be present, to manifest in the amniotic fluid and to detect by amniocentesis. So this is very important point. It has also come in the questions as well that after 20 weeks, we need to do for the baby amniocentesis to confirm the test in the baby. And after the birth, the urine of the baby can also be tested after the birth of the baby. And compared with other viral infections in pregnancy, infection earlier in pregnancy is associated with greater risk of more severe harm to the fetus or the neonate. Harm is going to be the more, it is very important that you understand this point. Harm is going to be more in the first trimester, but that we already told you that the risk of congenital infection is low in the first trimester, highest in the third trimester. Okay. So compared with other infections, infection early in pregnancy is associated with more severe form to the fetus. It appears that in the sonography or the ultrasound, the prognostic indicator will be the fetal brain abnormalities. That is microcephaly will be there, or calcifications in the brain can also be present in a baby with cytomegalovirus infection. And after ultrasound, we can do MRI, should be considered as a complementary imaging modalities for the investigation of the fetal brain. And once the baby has been diagnosed with congenital cytomegalovirus infection, then the choice is for the mother to decide whether she wants to continue with the pregnancy or termination. It will be her choice to go ahead. For the cytomegalovirus, there is no antiviral drug which is safe in pregnancy. So there is no treatment in terms of pregnancy, and there is no vaccine also available for cytomegalovirus. Only we can take certain preventive measures, that is hand washing after we are using any food, or we are using any utensils, or after we are contacting after we have come in contact with the saliva or the urine. So we need to take only the precautionary measures are there to prevent cytomegalovirus. That is hand washing is very important. However, there is none of the antiviral drug is safe in pregnancy, and there is no licensed vaccine available for cytomegalovirus infection. Now, infected fetus may be classified. There are three types of fetuses that can be affected. They're either asymptomatic, severely asymptomatic, or mild to moderate asymptomatic. For asymptomatic, what do we mean by an asymptomatic? There will be no ultrasound abnormalities, brain MRI, cerebral MRI, and the normal biological parameters. The platelet count will also be normal in the fetal blood. The prognosis is generally good for these fetuses, but there's a risk that the baby can have sensory neural hearing loss. If the baby is severely affected, there can be severe cerebral ultrasound abnormalities, that is microcephaly, ventriculomegaly, white matter abnormalities with cavitations, intracerebral hemorrhage, and cortical development associated with thrombocytopenia. So for these, as because of all these complications, definitely the prognosis will be poor, and we need to counsel the woman that she can go ahead with the termination of the pregnancy if she wants. But if it is a mild to moderate symptomatic fetus, they are defined as those with only isolated biological abnormalities on fetal blood sampling, which can be without brain abnormalities on ultrasound or with isolated ultrasound abnormalities. It can be either any one of them, hyperechogenic bowel, ventriculomegaly, or there can be calcifications. So for this, the prognosis is uncertain and we need to keep the babies on the follow-up with ultrasound and MRI, which is usually performed between 28 to 32 weeks. which will help us to refine the prognosis. So with this group of babies also, we need to give the woman the termination of pregnancy options should be given to them also. If it is asymptomatic, the babies are generally good. There's no need. They can only have the problem with the sensory neural hearing loss. If it is severely symptomatic, the prognosis is really poor, and we need to give her the option of termination of pregnancy. If it is mild to moderate, we need to explain her that these are the possibilities that can happen. Now it's up to her choice that what a woman wants to do. Now, just a flow chart to revise what we have discussed till now. So first of all, once the infection has been confirmed that the woman is having infection with cytomegalovirus, so we are going to do the test for the baby by amniocentesis at more than 20 weeks of gestation, or after 6 to 8 weeks following the seroconversion or the reactivation. So the ideal time is after 20 weeks of gestation, or if the infection has happened, then 6 to 8 weeks after that, we need to do amniocentesis. And for the follow-up of the baby, we will be doing ultrasound examination. For the baby, we will be doing detailed ultrasound examination, especially every 2 to 4 weeks. And the need for the brain MRI, it is done at between 28 to 32 weeks of gestations, which can be repeated later depending on the what the problem is in the brain. And along with that, we can do fetal blood sampling. And the fetal blood sampling, what can be seen? Only thrombocytopenia will be seen. And now, as we've already discussed, the fetus can either fall into any one of them: asymptomatic, mild to moderate, or severely symptomatic. If the fetus is asymptomatic, the woman will be managed expectantly until delivery, and after delivery, the pediatrician will assess the baby for clinical, auditory, ophthalmological, laboratory, and the imaging for the neonates. And along with that, the examination of the placenta will be done. If it's a mild to moderate, then it is the choice of the woman. Either she wants to continue with the pregnancy, or she wants to go ahead with the termination of the pregnancy. If she go ahead with the termination of the pregnancy, then we need to examine the placenta. Also, we need to do the postmortem examination of the baby. And if it is severely symptomatic, again, it is her choice whether to go ahead with the expectant or consider the option of termination of pregnancy. Okay. So just to revise this, cytomegalovirus, it's a viral infection, belongs to the herpes family. It is transmitted antenatally, transplacentally, during labor, and postpartum through the breast milk. The most common reason that we are worried, it causes sensory neural hearing loss. And it is tested by immunoglobulin G avidity index for the mother, and to diagnose for the baby, we need to do amniocentesis after 20 weeks of pregnancy or 6 to 8 weeks after the infection has been diagnosed in the mother. And then we're going to follow up the baby by doing ultrasound every 2 to 4 weeks and brain MRI in between 28 to 32 weeks. And sometimes it can be repeated depending on the condition. And then we need to give the mother the option, either she wants to continue with the pregnancy or she wants to terminate the pregnancy. That will be totally up to her choice. So is there any question? Or you want me to repeat any point for all of you?
I missed the first slide.
Yes, sure.
Can you give us the name of this journal or the TOG or SIP? Can you just give the name?
It's cytomegalovirus infection, the name of the SIP, scientific impact paper.
Is it possible to write? Is it possible to write in one of the slides?
Yeah, sure. I'll mention it in the chat box for you.
Oh.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
As you said earlier, that once the infection has been diagnosed in the mother, once the mother becomes seropositive, you're going to test, you're going to do an amniocentesis in the fetus and check whether the fetus is infected or not. And this should ideally be done 6 to 8 weeks after the mother has turned seropositive. That again will be in any case done after 20 weeks of gestation, right?
Yes.
Even if the mother is diagnosed early in the pregnancy, but we'll have to wait for the pregnancy to proceed to 20 weeks and beyond, and then do the
Yes, because
amniocentesis.
the reason is that for this, because it takes the virus time to manifest in the baby, and if we do it early, the result will be false, and we'll give then the false reassurance to the mother that the baby is fine. But later on, when the baby is affected, so that is the reason that there's a time frame that we do it after 20 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You were no problem. Any other question? Or should
Can you please tell me one thing? According to trimester, first, second, and third, if first trimester rate of transmission is less, but affection of fetus is more.
Yes.
Okay. And third trimester transmission is high, but affection is of fetus is low.
Yeah, because the baby is already formed. You know, the brain and the organs of the baby are developed already. That is the reason.
Okay.
That
Thank you.
affected.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, thank you.
So RP, so do you have any further questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So we are going to move with the questions now. So who's going to take my first question? We have Najri here with us. Najri, can we have you here?
Hi.
Hi. Are you
You
happy
heard me?
to? Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So this goes for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. The diagnosis of cytomegalovirus infection has been made on 20 years old prime gravida at 16 weeks of gestation. She would like to know whether her baby is infected or not. What investigation will you offer her? Amniocentesis 7 weeks after the infection. Now she's 16. Amniocentesis for viral particles as soon as possible. No. Fetal blood sample for immunoglobulin. MRI for ultrasound. And the first one, amniocentesis 7 weeks after the infection.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've done a very good job. Yeah.
Okay.
So who's going to take the next question? Who do we have for our next question?
I can try, ma'am.
Yeah, who's this?
Kanchan.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Which of the following is the most common congenital viral infection? Cytomegalovirus, ma'am.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very common and a basic question. You know, I've just kept it to revise.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to do the other question as well, please?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah. So question 3 goes for you.
Yeah, okay, ma'am. A woman at 32 weeks of gestation is admitted with severe falciparum malaria. What is the pharmacological treatment of choice? For severe malaria, ma'am, we will give artesunate.
Excellent. Yeah,
Thank you.
I've done my job for today, at least. Yeah. The drug of choice for severe falciparum malaria is artesunate IV. Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
And who do we have for other question? Next question.
Question number 4.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
A woman who is in the second trimester of pregnancy is planning to travel to an area endemic for chloroquine resistant malaria. What did you recommend as the drug of choice for prophylaxis? I think mefloquine, C.
Yes, exactly. Mefloquine. Yeah. Thank you, Paris, Hamida, everyone for answering, and you've all been answering very correctly. Thank you so much. And excellent, you have answered the right. It's mefloquine in chloroquine resistant malaria area. For the next question, who do we have with us? Any volunteers?
Can I try again?
Yes, sure, please. Who is this with us?
Yeah. I'm Najia.
All right. Yeah, Najia, please go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
British-born primigravida with uncomplicated pregnancy at 22 weeks needs to travel to sub-Saharan Africa for a family emergency and is expected to spend up to a month in Nigeria. She wishes to know about the risk of contracting malaria what is her risk during 1 month stay without chemoprophylaxis? I don't know, they told me, see, I don't know. I was not there from the start of your lecture. Okay.
Yeah,
No, I think,
you know, sometimes things can be wrong as well. You know, you need
yeah,
to get
I think more. Yeah, I think more. I think
yeah,
like
yeah,
1 to 50 or 1, yeah.
Yes, very right. It's 1 to 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main purpose I purposely pushed this question because just to make sure that it's important that we emphasize on the charts as well. You know, the charts are also important to remember. That was the reason for this question, the main reason.
Okay.
Or otherwise, it's a very simple question. If you just memorize the chart, then it's a simple question. There's nothing difficulty in this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Who would you have for our next question? Thank you, Naji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Thank you.
We have Tanya here.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tanya, yeah, question goes here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are seeing a 35-year-old para 2 woman at 28 weeks gestation with a small for gestation fetus in the antenatal clinic. She had torch screening and her cytomegalovirus result was suggestive of a recent maternal infection. Which one of the following is most appropriate in women with a recent primary maternal cytomegalovirus infection? A, presence of IgM antibodies in the maternal serum indicate a recent primary infection. Risk of transmission is higher if cytomegalovirus infection is acquired in the first trimester. High avidity of IgG antibodies is suggestive of a primary cytomegalovirus infection, and primary maternal infection is associated with 30 to 40% risk of inter-uterine transmission and fetal infection. And fetal infection is diagnosed when there are ultrasound marker of infection. Okay. Which one of the following is most appropriate in women with a recent primary maternal cytomegalovirus infection? Recent infection, so primary maternal infection is associated with a 30 to 40% risk of inter-uterine transmission and fetal
Exactly.
infection.
Yes, you're very right. And can you explain us why did you choose this option? Why not option A, B, C, or E?
Because the patient gave history of recent primary infection, and recent primary infection, fetal infection is high.
Yes, very true. I mean, in primary infection, we don't have IgM antibodies. In case of
Yes.
cytomegalovirus infection, yeah. So, and
Yes.
in case of primary infection, the ability for immunoglobulin G will be low. It will not be
Low.
high.
And
So, yeah. So,
yes.
and that is where all the options are excluded. Only the suitable option is option D.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tania, for sharing.
Thank you, ma'am.
And who do we have for our next question? Can we have Samina, Dr. Samina here?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sure.
Okay. IgG avidity percent show primary infection in cytomegalovirus in C30.
Yeah, exactly. You're very right. If it was a secondary infection, then
60.
yeah. Yes, very true. Thank you, Ahmed, Dr. Madhya, Dr. Amin, for responding. Paris, I can't see Paris. Where's Paris today? Not active? Paris,
Dr.
can we?
Apsa,
Yes,
I want
please.
to ask one more question, please.
Sure, please.
As you said, like other infections, torch infections in cytomegalovirus, the IgG and IgM antibodies are not important. And but you told about these IgG and IgM antibodies also means they also help in diagnosis.
No,
In the
look for
in
all
some
the
slides.
yes, yeah. I'll definitely repeat that point for you. It's not like that IgM or IgG are not important. Yes, they are important. Except for cytomegalovirus. In case of other infections, IgM will tell us that the virus infection is recent infection, and IgG tells us that the infection is past or secondary infection. But in case of specifically in case of cytomegalovirus, if it is, we are only going to tell by immunoglobulin G avidity. That is, if it is low, that means that the infection is primary, that is 30%. If it is high, 60%, then it shows that's the secondary infection. Only it's an exceptional case you can remember like this for cytomegalovirus. Okay?
Okay, means it means we will only do IgG avidity test and not the IgG and IgM.
No. In case of cytomegalovirus, only in case of cytomegalovirus.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, dear.
Ma'am, that means IgG avidity is just to differentiate primary and non-primary infection.
Primary and secondary infection.
Okay. Ma'am, I want to ask one thing. If infection occurs 18 weeks of pregnancy, then after 6 to 8 weeks, we do amniocentesis?
Yes, you're
or
right.
more than 20 weeks?
After 6 to 8 weeks, because it takes 6 to 8 weeks is the time duration the virus will take to manifest for the baby infection.
To pass into the urine, I think.
To pass in the urine, and urine is a part of amniotic fluid. And for amniocentesis, we need amniotic. Yes.
Okay, that means that at least 6 to 8 weeks we have to pass. That means 18 weeks, then we do it 24 weeks.
Yes, then you will choose according to the options, that what is the option given to you in the question. Any option after you adding 6 to 8 weeks, it becomes, so it will be the option, the best option for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
If infection occurs 11 weeks, then we have to wait at least 20 weeks. More than equal 20 weeks we can do.
Yes, after 6 to 8 weeks, so almost it will become, if you 8 to 11, it becomes 19. So 20 weeks is not far from that. Yeah, just to.
Yeah, we have to wait for the function of the fetal kidney.
Yes, yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Paris, can we have you here? I'm not able to see Paris today. See.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Can you
Paris, the
hear me?
next, I can now hear you. So next question goes for you, Paris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are the options. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And question?
Question is A.
Question, yeah. A 27 years old woman who is 32 weeks pregnant present following a recent trip to abroad with vomiting and flu-like symptoms, but no pyrexia. She has been seen by the acute medical team and diagnosed with malaria, Plasmodium falciparum. Now options:
So you tell us
27
first
and
the treatment. Yeah. So what
27
is so what is going to be the most
years
appropriate
old.
man?
She is 30. I think she's diagnosed with Plasmodium falciparum, so she should be immediately admitted and give treatment.
Which drug should we give it to her?
Artesunate.
Artesunate.
Yes. So definitely now we are going to go back to the options. So which option starting from?
A option, admit to hospital and
No, no, no,
administer
no.
oral. No, this is not.
No.
Allow admit to hospital and
Next slide, ma'am.
Next slide.
admit
D.
to hospital.
It's D. No.
Admit to ICU. Any treatment.
Severe or complicated?
It's
Ma'am, she is not having
it's
uncomplicated, no? Uncomplicated malaria, so no
So
need
it's
for
A, I
artesunate.
think. A.
ICU admission. Ma'am, please previous one slide.
Yes. I'm really sorry for the
Question
inconvenience
one.
because the options are were not able to come on the single
A.
slide. That's why I have to move up and down.
And can we see the question again?
Admit and
Yeah, sure.
quinine and clindamycin uncomplicated.
She is 27, 32 weeks pregnant following recent
She has been
report.
seen by the acute medical
But
team. It's
no
an emergency.
pyrexia. Can be treat at home. Ma'am,
No,
please
admission.
Acute medical team means emergency, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am,
In
please.
ICU management.
Yes. And what drug are you going to give it to her?
Quinine and clindamycin uncomplicated.
IV artesunate.
But where it is written in my question that is the uncomplicated malaria.
She has only flu and vomiting, but no pyrexia.
Yes. No
pyrexia.
And she
And only
Seen by
one.
the
No,
acute
this
medical
is
team.
at home with it.
It is uncomplicated Plasmodium falciparum, so we will admit her for the hospital and the quinine and the clindamycin. I think A.
Option A.
With antiemetic.
A option is,
A.
I think, A option A.
Yes. Option A is the most suitable. But if it is a but if it was a complicated malaria, then option D will be the best.
Yeah.
Admit to ICU and IV artesunate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then, ma'am, according to question, which one is the answer, A or D?
A.
A, uncomplicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
thank
she's
you.
having only mild symptoms. Yeah. Yeah. So next, who is going to take? Who is this with us? Yes, sure. Please go ahead.
Me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay. 30-year-old woman who is 28 weeks pregnant presents following a recent trip abroad with vomiting and flu-like symptoms, but with no pyrexia. She has been diagnosed with Plasmodium vivax by the acute medical team. Ma'am, this is the same question. Means gestational age is different.
No, this is Vivax.
No,
Vivax.
Okay, but with the
Vivax.
no pyrexia and diagnosed with the Vivax. Okay.
Mm.
Means options.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes.
For Vivex, it's quinine. It's quinine.
Option?
No. Chloroquine.
Primaquine.
It's for Vivex, it's no, it's chloroquine.
Yes, you're very right.
Chloroquine, yes.
Chloroquine. Yeah. So search for the options. Where's chloroquine?
Not A, not B, not C. Maybe in D and others.
But the top one is not marked.
Admit hospital.
This one E.
E.
But here it's also admission is written.
Yes, should be admitted. Any malaria in pregnancy.
Yeah, admit to hospital and it's E.
Yes, it's very yeah. The only difference that is if you see this question, it's the Vivex, and here if you see that the above question is only this. It's just the Vivex that is making the difference. However, the number of weeks of pregnancy, she's 28. The symptoms are same, vomiting and flu.
Yes.
So it's because of the Vivex, the drug of choice will be for her is chloroquine. And so definitely we are going to search in the options. So the only that we have is chloroquine is with admit to the hospital and oral chloroquine. That is option E. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And next was this with us to solve our next question. Now you are mastering in EMQs. I can see.
Yeah. I will take Dr.
Who is this?
Naji, yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, sure.
27 years old, who is 26 weeks pregnant, presented with vomiting, pyrexia. She is found to be hypoglycemic and to have severe anemia. BB is 80/50 and pulse rate 120. Falciparum has been found on testing. It is severe malaria. So admission to the ICU and artesunate IV and treatment of course antiemetic and treatment of hypoglycemia, treatment of anemia. So the option
yeah.
Yeah, the option admission to the ICU with the start of artesunate. I think yes, this one D. And the daily, therefore, formulated plan, which may involve delivery with senior member. It is not, of course, not A, not B, not C, D, maybe. I want to see the after that. Yes, it is D.
Yes.
D,
And the
also
reason?
four.
And the
reason it is severe. Severe
exactly.
malaria.
Yeah, severe malaria. Yeah. Thank you. Now you're mastering on the guidelines.
Thank you. Because of you. Because of you, Doctor. Thank you.
So who we have here for our next EMQ?
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead with the question. Question number 11.
Okay, ma'am. A 28 years Afro-Caribbean woman with 4 children presents to the obstetric assessment unit with vague symptoms of malaise, fever, and headache. She has traveled to Ghana 4 weeks ago and was perfectly fine. She is currently 30 weeks pregnant and has good fetal movement. Her blood test and her peripheral smear reveal anemia, thrombocytopenia, hyperparasitemia with Plasmodium falciparum. Question 12.
No. First you have to answer
11.
question number 11. Yeah.
Okay. Here is hyperparasitemia with Plasmodium falciparum. And
what
anemia,
is the other
thrombocytopenia.
Yeah, thrombocytopenia and?
Severe anemia.
Yes.
Severe. Yes. And 30 weeks pregnant. And smear shows anemia, thrombocytopenia, hyperparasitemia.
And
that
one
means
more?
more than 2%.
Hypoglycemia.
And travel history. 4 weeks.
Yes, 2. Travel history 2.
To Ghana 4 weeks
4
ago.
weeks.
Ghana.
That's an African part of an Africa. So she is at high risk of developing Plasmodium falciparum. They've already detailed this. So you now have to tell us the most appropriate management. So what is you're going to give her the drug?
This is
artesunate.
IV artesunate ICU management.
Yes, I'll go back to the options and now you'll have to choose it. So, yeah.
intravenous artesunate, antiemetic plus repeat oral quinine, antiemetic plus repeat oral quinine and clindamycin, intravenous quinine, intravenous clindamycin, intravenous quinine plus oral clindamycin, intravenous quinine plus IV clindamycin, oral quinine, oral clindamycin, oral quinine plus oral clindamycin, oral chloroquine for 3 days, oral chloroquine 300 mg weekly till delivery, pyrimethamine, primaquine, and sulfadiazine. A patient need ICU, that means hospital ICU management, and IV artesunate.
So you will choose which option?
Yes, ma'am, artesunate.
Yeah, obviously you don't even need to read the options because the only choice that is only the drug, only there's one option with artesunate. None of the other options is there with artesunate. So you know, you in EMQs you can save your time. If you can't see the option, if you can see only just one option is your choice. The rest options is nothing to do this with question. Definitely it can be there in the other question, but not for you. Save your time, move ahead with the next question. Okay, like this you are going to save the time. And this is in a smart way. We call this in, that is artesunate. We don't have in any other options. And yes, ICU is a choice, but ICU is not given in the options. So we don't need to search for the ICU. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So who's going to take the next one?
Can I try, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
A 28-year-old Afro-Caribbean woman with 2 children presents to the day assessment unit at 29 weeks of gestation with fever, malaise, and musculoskeletal pain. She gives history of malaria 4 years ago during her visit to Nigeria. A peripheral blood smear shows P. falciparum clinically, hematologically, and biochemically. There are no symptoms or signs of severe complications. So it's falciparum malaria, which is uncomplicated. So we will give quinine and clindamycin and admit her.
Yes, so we'll go back to the options and you're going to tell us which option is it.
It's oral quinine and oral clindamycin, ma'am.
So which option it makes from?
J.
Yes,
J.
exactly. You are very right. So indefinitely, look, you can also see the option H and the option I. They are different, you know, only with quinine and clindamycin. So the best option for you are with this scenario is quinine plus oral clindamycin.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And who is for the next question with us? Thank you, Kulsum, Sidra, Madhya, everyone for answering. Highly appreciated.
Ma'am,
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, Paris, is this Paris?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Paris,
Thank you,
please go ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, Paris.
Okay, next question is a 20-year-old primary African woman present to the day assessment unit at 37 weeks of gestation with fever, malaise, and muscular pain. She gives history of malaria during childhood and has been physically fit so far. A peripheral blood smear shows Plasmodium falciparum, clinically, hematological, and biological. There is no symptoms or signs of severe complications. She vomits after receiving first dose of oral quinine and clindamycin. Ma'am, time is not mentioned whether she vomits 30 minutes or after 60 minutes. So I think we will give antiemetic with repeat dose.
Yeah, so now let's choose from the options.
Okay, option C.
C.
Antiemetic plus repeat oral quinine and clindamycin.
C.
Yes, exactly. Because they did not in the question, they did not mention the specific timing of the vomiting. So, so who was with us who was asking this question that after the vomiting, we need to repeat the complete dose of quinine plus clindamycin. That was the reason I left this query at that particular moment, so that you can solve in the EMQs. Okay, the reason behind that was this. So if it would have been 30 minutes,
30 minutes
Then we
we will
need,
give full dose, and after 60 minutes we will give half dose.
yes, exactly.
No,
Very
between
clear.
30 to 60 minutes we give half dose. After 60 minutes we won't repeat.
So who is going to take the next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is this?
Samina.
Yes, Samina.
A 28-year-old nulliparous Asian woman presents to the day assessment unit at 20 weeks of gestation with fever, malaise, and muscle pain. She returned to UK 2 weeks ago from India. Peripheral smear shows Plasmodium vivax. She receives anti-malarial treatment for 7 days and cured. 4 weeks later, she came to her GP for advice because she is about to go on holiday to Africa.
So what are you going to give her?
She had received
Plasmodium
anti-malarial.
vivax.
It would be resistant, chloroquine resistant, I guess.
Bioresistant. Nothing is mentioned about resistant in the question.
And she receives anti-malarial treatment for 7 days and cured.
Yeah.
And then after 4 weeks, she again comes to the GP for advice. Now prophylaxis, we are going to give her.
So what are you going to give her in the prophylaxis of Plasmodium vivax?
First, tell her not to go.
Mefloquine.
Why not chloroquine?
Or primaquine.
Okay, we are going to go to the options and now you can choose.
Malaron, yes, mefloquine or Malaron.
For prophylaxis for Vivex, I forgot.
Okay, just go to the options. You can remember by looking at the options. You will remember.
IV artesunate or oral quinine. IV quinine plus IV oral quinine, oral clindamycin, oral. I don't exactly remember. It's oral quinine plus oral clindamycin.
It's Plasmodium vivax.
Go for L, oral chloroquine 300 milligrams repeat delivery.
It's.
Yes, who is this with us?
Bhaskar.
Yes, you are exactly very right. For Plasmodium vivax, well, and malaria, the drug of choice is chloroquine.
Chloroquine. Okay.
So it was,
So-
yeah. So
Ma'am,
that
if
was,
there is a chloroquine resistance, then
if it is going to be chloroquine resistant, then you can give her primaquine.
So that's, I was telling ma'am, I said chloroquine
No, but
and then
yeah, but in the option there was nothing like resistance was nothing mentioned for you. It is a simple question that peripheral smear was showing Vivex, and now she has been cured. She has been cured, and again she plans to go to Africa. So for prophylaxis, we have to give her some. If it would have been like any resistance, then definitely your first choice will be primaquine.
Okay. So it would be till after delivery? It was the
Can
question.
primaquine be given in pregnancy?
Just mefloquine.
Yes.
No, but we don't have mefloquine in the options, you know.
No,
Then obviously, definitely, if the question is going to change, the options will also be changed.
no,
You
ma'am.
know?
If it is chloroquine resistant, then mefloquine should be the answer.
Yeah, but in this question, the option of mefloquine is not there. If we talk to this about this question specifically.
So its answer is L?
Yeah, L.
Okay.
Abdul Basit, can we have you here for the last question with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please go ahead with the last question.
Yeah, a 28-year-old Afro-Caribbean woman with 3 children present to the day assessment unit at 37 weeks with fever, malaise, and muscle pain. Her peripheral smears show Plasmodium ovale. Clinically, hematologically, and biochemically, there are no symptoms or signs of severe complication. This is Plasmodium ovale.
So what is going to be the drug?
And not severe.
Chloroquine.
Same chloroquine.
Yeah.
But this is for 3 days.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this chloroquine is going to be for
Yes,
3
for
days.
3 days. Yes. Okay.
For 3 days. Exactly. Thank you, Shaista, Paris, Sidra. So many, all of the participants are really very active. I can see in the chat group.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Upsa.
Thank you. Any other queries before we end our session for today?
No, thank you so much.
Ma'am, I have missed one thing about anti-emetic when we should give. During quinine administration, patient may complaining of vomiting. So, should we give metoclopramide, and when we have to repeat the next dose oral quinine?
Yeah. If the patient is vomiting and you have given, if she vomits within 30 minutes, okay, then you are going to repeat the whole dose, quinine and clindamycin both. But if it is after 60 minutes, then you're going to repeat half of the dose. Like if it is, for example, if it is 150, then you're going to give a 75, like this.
After 60 minutes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
30 to 60 minutes should be.
Yeah, after 30 to 60 minutes, yes.
Yes.
After 30 to 60 minutes. Any queries? Yes, Sidra, definitely I'll be sharing the SIP article for you just after it gets over.
That means within 30 minutes, full dose, and after 30 to within 60 minutes, half dose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Shaista, Dr. Tania, Dr. Hera, especially. Lots of name and lots of love to all of you. Please take care. Take your vitamin C. Keep
Same to
hydrating
you,
yourself.
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Take care, ma'am.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night. Take care. Thank you.